Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and the NFL trade deadline is swiftly approaching at the end of this month of October, and I wanted to go over some players that I feel the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should be interested in regarding some type of trade. I have taken a deep look at the positions of need for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and matched those up with some guys who may be on the trading block as the trade deadline comes in swiftly at the end of this month. So let's go ahead and dive into some of these players. The first guy I want to talk about is current Philadelphia Eagles running back Rashad Penny, who is only 27 years old, by the way, 5'11", 220 pounds, just signed with the Eagles this past offseason, right? And I know a lot of people have thought about Rashad Penny as just a very interesting option for the Buccaneers in the past. Right now, as it stands, Rashad Penny's not getting a lot of playing time. He had one game against Minnesota where he had 3 attempts for 9 yards, 1 target for 5 yards as well. So obviously, that's not a great sample size if you take a look at his 2023 numbers. But if we go back to last year and even the year before, right? Take a look at 2021, 2022. That's where things get interesting to me, right? Firstly, in 2022, Rashad Penny played and started in 5 games. He had 57 attempts, 346 yards, 2 touchdowns, good for 6.1 yards per attempt, by the way. Even going back into the year before, things were even better. He had 119 attempts, played in 10 games, started 6, 749 yards. He had 6.3 yards per an attempt with 6 touchdowns. Whenever you look at these 2 years, right, what's so interesting to me is just the overall efficiency, right? And even if you look at the years before, Rashad Penny's been a guy where his yards per attempt has always been pretty solid. Like if we go and take a look at this from, best to worst here, 6.3 yards an attempt, 6.1, 5.7, 4.9, 3.1, and 3. That's certainly better than what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are getting at Rashad Penny's worst. And obviously, 4 out of those 6 years, he's well over 4 yards per carry. That is a very, very good thing to see, in my opinion. So whenever I look at a guy like Rashad Penny, like obviously this is a guy who's been an efficient runner in the past. And you also look at the time here with Seattle. He spent his first 5 seasons in the NFL with the Seattle Seahawks. Who was there at that time? Well, it was Dave Canales, who has spent a great amount of time. Literally, the first 5 years of Rashad Penny's career was spent with the same offensive coaching staff as, a lot of guys who are with the Buccaneers now. And I feel like that matters. So if the Buccaneers are in the market for a guy that is definitely more of an efficient runner and is showcased that he is more of an efficient runner than what the Buccaneers have been getting so far, then I think that, given the history with Dave Canales and the current Buccaneers offensive coaching staff, maybe Tampa Bay gives them a call on Rashad Penny. The next guy I want to take a look at here is a guy that a lot of Bucs fans are probably definitely familiar with, or have a big history with this guy. It is former Minnesota Vikings running back, current New York Jets running back, Dalvin Cook. And look, a lot of Bucs fans know Dalvin Cook, right? He went to Florida State. A lot of people wanted Dalvin Cook to be the guy that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers took in the first round of the 2017 NFL draft, right? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers ended up going with O.J. Howard with the 19th overall pick. You keep on going down into that second round. Dalvin Cook went at pick 41. And there was some rumors, right? The Buccaneers went with Justin Evans in that situation. But there were some rumors that, the Buccaneers were going to try and trade up for Dalvin Cook, but Minnesota ended up getting him in the 41st pick of the second round, whereas O.J. Howard was the 19th overall pick. But even like a lot of Bucs fans wanted, Dalvin Cook with that 19th overall pick, didn't end up happening. And Dalvin Cook ended up being a Minnesota Viking. What's so interesting with Dalvin Cook right now is, look, I don't got to tell you guys how good Dalvin Cook has been in the past, right? 4-time Pro Bowler. He's done some really, really good things, right? But if we go down here with his stats, like he had a stretch where he went crazy. He's had some injury concerns in his past, right? This is the only year going back to 2022, where he played all, the games and started all the games in a regular season. But this 4 straight years of Pro Bowls was absolutely insane. We can even pull up the stats here. Like, you look, 4 years, 58 games, 1,000 attempts, 5,000 yards, 43 touchdowns. He even had 1,400 yards receiving, 3 receiving touchdowns. Like, Dalvin Cook went crazy over this stretch of 4 years, right? The Minnesota Vikings eventually released him, and he signed a deal with the New York Jets. Really later in the off-season process and whatnot, right? I don't think we can see necessarily transactions and whatnot. Here we go. Yeah, so Dalvin Cook signed with them. He was released from the Vikings on June 9th, and he signed with the Jets August 14th. That's very late into the process of preseason, offseason, and whatnot, and that might be a contributing factor to why we've seen Dalvin Cook struggle so much this year. But you take a look here, it's not been great. He's played in 6 games, 39 carries, 109 yards, 2.8 yards per attempt. And if you look up here, and you kind of take a look at the yards per attempt here, I mean, this is by far, right? This is by far the worst year Dalvin Cook has had as a running back. Every other year, he's been knocking it out of the park. He's never, ever had below 4 yards an attempt per attempt in his career until he joined the New York Jets. Now, why is that? Part of that may be the offensive line. It's been a rough go there for New York. Part of that may be he didn't really have a chance to learn the offensive playbook. Again, this guy signed with the Jets so late in the process, August 14th. So, there can be a couple of reasons there, for sure. Even targets, 9 targets, 9 catches, 46 yards, and he's catching every target that's thrown his way. This just hasn't been a great year for Dalvin Cook so far, right? So, maybe this is a guy that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers could buy low on. He is 28 years old, which some people may be a bit, skeptical about that and say, that is kind of the, you're getting up to that age where running backs really aren't useful anymore, right around that late 20s, early 30s type of mark. But, hey, if the right type of compensation is there, so to speak, maybe this is something the Tampa Bay Buccaneers could consider. I don't necessarily know the type of contract that he is currently on right now in terms of price and whatnot. That would obviously have to be something we could dive in a little bit later on. But, could be an interesting option there for the Buccaneers to consider, given he hasn't been doing great with the New York Jets right now. Maybe the Buccaneers could buy low on a guy who is a fan favorite without even being on the team in Dalvin Cook. Now I want to shift gears and I want to go to the defensive side of things with a bit of a spicy option, right? Chase Young. Now, Chase Young's only 24 years old. The Washington Commanders, the Washington football team, did not pick up Chase Young's 5th-year option, which is very interesting to me. He was the number 2 overall pick in the 2020 NFL draft, by the way. That's bananas that this is a guy that is even, being considered to be on the trade block right now, but here we are, right? In that draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers got Tristan Wirfs. So they were fine. They were very happy with their selection. Chase Young obviously was never going to be in play for them. But what's so interesting to me is that this guy's even on here, right? He's a one-time Pro Bowler. He won the Defensive Rookie of the Year from the Associated Press and the PFWA. And now he's potentially a guy who could be on the trade block. And you take a look at his stats. I think what's been so interesting for Chase Young, and maybe this is why he's been on the trade block, is just the lack of availability, right? He played 15 games in his rookie year, did very solid for a rookie year, right? 4 forced fumbles, 4 passes defended, 7.5 sacks, 1 fumble return for a touchdown, 12 quarterback hits. Like, Chase Young, obviously showcased that moniker of a number 2 overall pick. 2021 and 2022 were rough, man. You take a look at that. He only started 11 total games in 2 years, only played in 12 total games in 2 years, 1.5 sacks in 2 years. 2 forced fumbles, 3 passes defended. It just wasn't a great couple of years, right? He has 31 total tackles during those times. Now he's rebounding in 2023. He had 5 games started, 6 total games, 5 sacks, 14 tackles, 1 pass defended, 9 quarterback hits. He's been a guy that's been, definitely rebounding, but why would he be on the trade block, right? Well, one is because he's on the last year of his deal, and if you don't really have any interest in bringing this guy back, then that's something you can do, right? Is move on from a guy, get some level of compensation. Also, the Washington Commanders are in a bit of a limbo right now, right? They're 3-4. They're in a bit of a weird situation regarding, their record and just everything that they, are looking to do. You take a look at the overall game logs. Like, Chase Young's still getting some starts, right? He was inactive in game 1. Didn't start game 2, but is still getting a very, very healthy amount of defensive snaps. I think this purely falls into the category of, hey, this guy's on the last year of his deal. Not necessarily a great record right now at 3-4. I know the Buccaneers are 3-3, but why not try and get something for a guy who we probably aren't gonna want to bring back? That's kind of the rationale there, in my opinion. But Chase Young's still been very good. He's second on the team in sacks right now for the Commanders, right behind Montez Sweat. So this is something that's definitely more, like, this is probably the most pipe dream one, right? But you hear his name being thrown out there a little bit as the trade deadline rumors go on. If the Buccaneers really want to get a guy who could be the cornerstone of their pass rush for many, many years to come, maybe you go out there and throw out a deal. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, the pass rush as a whole, hasn't necessarily been the best thing. It's definitely not where you want it to be. You could get a great infusion of young talent here in the case of Chase Young. I want to shift gears now and go to a guy who isn't young. He's a very much an established veteran. That is Danielle Hunter, age 28. He's a guy that, 3rd round pick, 88th overall in the 2015 NFL draft. Did he re-sign with the team recently? I thought he had signed like some 1-year extension. I guess not. But apparently no transactions recently. I thought there was some type of restructured deal, but I guess not, just from what I can see. I don't gotta tell you guys how good Danielle Hunter is. He's one of the best pass rushers in the league when he is healthy. Now, that health is certainly something to be a concern about. In the past, he has had some injury concerns. He only started and played in 7 games in 2021. Aside from that, dude's been electric. He's been crazy. He's been absolutely crazy. He is a all-pro, second team, Pro Bowler, defensive player of the year. He got 5th. He was a first team all-pro in 2019, all-pro in 2022, Pro Bowl player of the year. He got 12th in voting. Like, Danielle Hunter goes crazy. 80 total sacks in his career. 121 quarterback hits. He leads the league right now in sacks with 9. I mean, just look, his lowest year, he had 6 sacks. That's only playing in 7 games. This dude is so efficient. Even his rookie year, he only started 1 game, had 6 sacks. The man didn't even start a game in 2016. He was a rotational guy, at least according to this website. He had 12.5 sacks. Like, he is such a good pass rusher, right? So why the heck would the Minnesota Vikings trade him? Well, the Minnesota Vikings are definitely in a bit of a weird situation. This kind of goes back to the Chase Young thing as well, where, they're 3-4. They know that Danielle Hunter isn't going to be here. There's been some rumors about, like, oh, are they going to trade Kirk Cousins? I don't think they're going to trade Kirk Cousins. But are they still trying to be competitive at this point, right? Are they going to be a team that's going to be sellers at the deadline? If so, will they move on from a guy like Danielle Hunter? If I was the Bucs, I mean, my goodness, I would be giving up a lot to get this guy. If you want to really have a good pass rush for the next 4-5 years, something like that, you go out and you get a guy like a Danielle Hunter, right? How rare is it to see a guy, potentially be on the trade block who's still only 28 years old? He's still got 4 or 5 good years left in him, in my opinion. And the efficiency, just a guy who is so crazy efficient. I think it's a guy you've really got to consider there, and look to potentially bring in. Again, would it cost a lot, just like Chase Young? Yeah, absolutely. That would be a definite like win now type of move. But if the Buccaneers are serious about wanting to compete for the NFC South, wanting to go out there and just go crazy with it, why not? Shoot the shot, so to speak. So Danielle Hunter is another guy I have here. Now I want to shift gears back to the offensive side of things. I want to take a look at wide receiver, Jerry Jeudy, another guy from Florida. A lot of these guys have been from Florida, by the way, or just in and around. Jerry Jeudy went to Alabama, but still interesting. This guy is another guy, 15th overall pick in the 2020 NFL draft. Again, he was picked after Tristan Wirfs, and Jerry Judy's been an interesting case, right? 6'11", 193 pounds. He's been a guy that, he's been playing a lot of games this year. You take a look at his past. He's definitely been a guy who, has shown some good moments whenever he does get the opportunities. His best year was last year, where he had 100 targets, 972 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Going back to his rookie year, 856 yards, 3 touchdowns on 113 targets. So, like, a healthy amount of targets for this guy. Health has been a little bit of a thing. He's missed a couple of games in 2020, a couple of games in 2022, a good bit of games in 2021. So far this year, he's been pretty healthy. The thing about this is Denver's not been great this year. They're 2-5. A lot of people are saying that they're gonna be sellers at the deadline. Sean Payton, LOL. But this is a team that definitely could be sellers, right? Despite the fact that, guys are playing overall well, there's still been rumors of guys like Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, being on that trade block. I believe Jerry Jeudy was asked about this recently, and he said he would be okay with being traded. And why not the Bucs, right? I think that's something that could definitely be a consideration there. Jerry Jeudy, I believe is on the last year of his deal. I don't believe they picked up his 5th-year option as far as I know. So could definitely be a bit of a rental, be a guy that, is somebody that you bring in. And if he does well, maybe you continue to keep him around, right? As a third wide receiver with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, I think this would be great. I feel like that's something that the Buccaneers are missing right now. You have Trey Palmer rotating in. Raheem Jarrett's been rotating in. All these different guys have been there. But Jerry Jeudy would add such a different element to what you're doing. Seriously. And you would have such a solid wide receiver trio there, which would help a little bit with the lack of the run game. Baker Mayfield said recently, I may go into that quote in a separate video, but he said recently that, they're definitely going to be forming more of an idea of being a pass first team. Why not go help out that case with getting a guy like Jerry Jeudy in the mix? My opinion. Jerry Jeudy I think would be an excellent guy to bring in. Be a good wide receiver. He's okay with being traded, and I think you could get him without having to pay too much in terms of draft capital. If the Buccaneers are serious about beefing up their passing attack, and maybe shifting away from the run, or just adding more juice to the offense for Baker Mayfield and this offense, add a good wide receiver like Jerry Jeudy, who is, more certainly than not going to be available. Finally, I want to go back to the defense. This is a guy that I think is severely underrated in the NFL. It's Jalen Mills. Right now, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, cornerback-wise, you have Carlton Davis, who's been playing, iffy. You have Jamel Dean, who's been playing iffy. You have Christian Izien, who's been playing good. Safety, D. Delaney's had some good moments. I personally want to see more of D. Delaney, but you have Ryan Neal, who's been not playing good. You could use depth at a lot of different positions, right? Enter Jalen Mills, in my opinion. New England Patriots, obviously he has a connection with Jason Light, who used to be with, the New England Patriots. They always make those different types of trades. It's just a weird pipeline between the two teams. 29 years old, so he's a vet. Was originally with the Philadelphia Eagles, 7th-round pick, so shout out to him for that. He's done a lot in his time with the Eagles and the Patriots. He's played outside cornerback. He's played right side, left side cornerback, free safety, which is important to me. Then you've also got him playing DB, like nickel corner, in situations with New England. Point being is that versatility is there for Jalen Mills. He's only started 1 game this year, as you can see right here. He's just a vet. He's started 76 games in his career. He's got 12 tackles this year. Hasn't have any interceptions this year, but 7 total interceptions on his career. If you're a team that's looking for a versatile backup defensive guy who can give you starting caliber snaps, Jalen Mills can be that guy. Bring him in, get him, focused in on the system, learning. The versatility is so huge. We know that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers love, love, love versatility with their players. Jalen Mills has played both outside corner positions, has played nickel corner. He's done it this year. I believe he did a little bit last year as well, and has even played free safety with the Philadelphia Eagles. And he's a vet, right? It never hurts to get vets into the organization and just see what they can do. So Jalen Mills is the last guy here as the 6 guys that I feel like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should consider trading for. You had Rashad Penny, you had Dalvin Cook, you had Chase Young, you had Danielle Hunter, you had Jeudy, and you have Jalen Mills, who's nicknamed the Green Goblin apparently, which I think that's hilarious. So they should just bring him in just for the nickname alone. But folks, it's going to be an interesting time here with the trade deadline and what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will do. Are they going to be buyers? Who knows, right? Who knows? They could certainly be a team that's going to be interested in some guys. I've listed a lot of potential guys here that they could be interested in just because of the fit and the overall talent that can be out there, not just for this year, but also for the next couple of years as well. But I want to know your guys' thoughts and opinions about the guys that I mentioned. Who are some other guys that you think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should be interested in? Let me know your thoughts and opinions. I'd love to hear them. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope y'all enjoyed. And as always, folks, I'll see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.